ass. So, there's not much need for the external dialogue. I really enjoy when Europeans come to the lecture, because all Europeans are not against the Africans. Some are. We will talk about specifically those at the top who are not only against Africans or people of color, but even are against some people of their own race. This is very important, that we not underestimate their inability to get along with each other. We're going to talk a little bit about the war now between the WASP and the Zionists, because they keep wanting to say what Coakley going to do to better clarify what a Zionist does. But I will tell you, you got a WASP on your hand. And he has decided he will take you on now because he has witnessed others take you on, and instead of diminishing, they have grown. Therefore, you have been signaled as a vulnerability. You probably will come under some form of attack. I wish you well. I wish you well. You will receive whatever you gave. That is only and truly the law that we all live by. So we're going to talk a little bit about their own inabilities of getting together, what I call the Tower of Babel dilemma. They have done about all that they can do. Now they're having a hard time understanding each other. And then we have to prepare to ourselves for what looks to be an inevitable fall. Well, here we are at the University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. Now, word up. Part of the dialogue this evening will be in code. I have great amusement of watching Europeans trying to slow down a rap record to listen exactly to what they think is being said, because the talk is too fast for them to catch on. And so they got it on slow drag, right, trying to catch the word by word, because they got the feeling that somewhere in the confusion and in the dialogue, we're getting real focused about what we're about, and that the slack is coming out of the relationship, and that the law may be enforced. The law is you reap what you sow. So there's great attentiveness to what it is that you're about, what you're up to. And that's a welcome opportunity, because, yes, we might be the ones to watch. The ones you have chased around the planet might be the ones who have the response mechanism built within the structure to deliver upon you the law and relieve you of this burden of anxiety about what's going to happen next. Now, I saw here on the page of the paper, the front page of the Minnesota Daily, a story yesterday. I like talking to these stories because I want to show it on the screen. It was yesterday's paper, and I'm just looking for it down here somewhere. Yesterday's paper, oh, here we go. Message of hate. This is the Minnesota Daily yesterday, and it's a question mark on it. So let's have a trial tonight. I take the challenge that they could put the question mark on me, but I'm here and bear the burden of taking the question not only off of me, but taking it off of them and putting it on them, exclamation point. That's what we're going to do here tonight, to prove about who is the bearer of the hate and what they have done with the knowledge and the feelings that they've had. Says alarmed Jewish leaders said Wednesday they, quote, will not sit back and ignore the upcoming campus speech by Steve Coakley, whom they decry as an anti-Semite spouting, quote, a message of hate. Is Matthew Ebenet here? The guy who wrote this story, is he here? What's the definition of anti-Semite?
I didn't make the definition of anti-Semite. It's what many say, or what the Jewish leaders I am talking to are saying to me as anti-Semite. I think what they're meaning is anti-Jewish.
Well, then it should then say anti-Jewish, since he understands that there may be some disparity between the use of one word and the use of another word that might be more focused. But to dim the focus and not to make it appear as if you're being isolated by others, you get a group term, and you may not even qualify for standing in the group. So if this were a court tonight and I was the prosecutor, the first thing I would seek to do is to get a stipulation about what the term anti-Semite means, because if we get clarity on the term, we might get a better understanding of the attack. So, now it's prosecutor, no clapping in the courtroom. Now, says Coakley, who also spoke at the university in February of '88, was fired from his job as a Chicago mayoral aide 3 years ago after being quoted as saying Jewish doctors were injecting black infants with the AIDS virus. Now, in the last story in the paper here in the Daily, they did run my answer to that question, which was that was not a quote from me. That was a quote from someone who I quoted. 2 little white students at Xavier University in Cincinnati. Oh, and let me correct the flyer, because I saw on the flyer it says aide to Harold Washington. When Harold Washington was the mayor, I was the chief researcher for the Committee on Rules of the City Council. All of it in the patronage combine of the mayor, but I didn't directly work for the mayor until after Harold Washington was assassinated, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. Says here, Carol Wirtschafter, W-I-R-T-S, C-H-A-F, Schafter, T-E-R. Carol Wirtschafter, Assistant Director of the Anti-Defamation League in Minnesota, said, quote, "We are disappointed that Afrikaner is having him back for a second time." Well, let's deal with the word Afrikaner. Do Afrikaner mean that Afrikaner been when Europeans show up? All around this country, when I went to Hampton University, we have black president down there, black student campus, the largest endowment of any of the black schools, but the African Student Union was in jeopardy of introducing me because the African president said they didn't want anti-George Bush activity on the all-black campus. So I turned to the African Study Group, who said they wouldn't be recognized by the university if they were to get caught introducing me. I told them they could do whatever they chose to, but they got to give back the word African, right? We're tired of our own people using the word African and black, and every time a European show up, they bend for the European. That's not African, and that's not black. So if it be the Afrikaner Student Council, Student Center, or Cultural Center, then let it be that means that no European can make it do anything that it doesn't choose to do within reason of respectability and morality. That's the law. Check. Okay. So, Carol, are you here tonight? Carol here? We named the names because these tapes go out all over the country. I couldn't tell you. When this brother videotaped this program last time, it ran on cable TV here, that University of Minnesota lecture went all over the country. And I remember the little white guy who was up in the back. He says, "I'm here from the Anti-Defamation League, and this is Black History Month, and I came here thinking I was going to hear some good old Negro history, and all I hear is hate." And I asked him what it felt like to go to an X-rated movie and get surprised when you see some sex. It says, during the past several years, the Afrikaner Student Cultural Center has sponsored speeches by a number of radical and many say anti-Jewish blacks, including Coakley, Louis Farrakhan, and Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael. I'm very proud to be included in the band of radicals who probably are just ordinary African people who had enough and know enough about the law to stand up and call for the imposition of the law so that everybody can reap what they sowed. I see, sister, that they will force you to respond, Sister Latika. She says everyone on the campus reserves the right to bring in the speaker they choose to. So does Afrikaner. And we stand up and respect that right to the point that we say, if after I leave here, if one of you all even slightly believe that one hair on your hair was risen as a result of some negative apprehension or a result of others outside the race, then just call me and sound the alarm. We have enough Africans who are serious about liberation that will arrive here and take care of the business. Check. I thank them for putting it on the front page because probably some of y'all wouldn't have been here if they hadn't have done it. You see, in the Jewish community, it depends on what region you're in, the strategy has changed. See, it used to be, I had a lecture programmer here, me on Crossfire with the guy Irv Rubin from the Jewish Defense League, but after they used to put me on different shows around the country and try to embarrass me, sometimes put me on with 2, 3, 4 people against me. Handling these people without a sweat, even with a smile, resulted in me not being on no more shows because the shows couldn't be used against me. Okay, fine. We're not talking to everyone anyway. But subsequent to that, then the strategy changed from coming out and raising a big hullabaloo about my appearance and my landing to just ignoring the fact that I was ever even here. Sometimes that aids and abets the strategy because sometimes you don't get excited till you see something they don't want. That's just one of our hang-ups right now. In fact, tonight I will prove that there is a conspiracy to kill the African people, and I brought just what you need to verify it. You see everywhere Coakley go, they say, Coakley talking all that shit, he ain't proved shit. So I bring all this good white material, good white sources from good white authors and good white books, and good white established sources from good white universities, because right now, when the question comes up about whether we're right or wrong, we need the good white people to say it. And that's an addiction of the people who've been victimized and colonized by another race of people. So I brought a bunch of good white sources so they can say, yes, Coakley, he showed the book from the time. Yeah, he backed this shit up. Right? He backed this shit up. He had the white people shit. Right? So this is something we're going to get over. We got to get over it, right? But I bring it. I know the stuff, right? You hear on the Dallas tape, they stole my bags. I stood there for 4 hours and quoted every page, every line, every paragraph, because I know my shit, right? But I know my shit in a way that they can come in and steal the shit. I can still talk to you for 48 hours without stopping, without ever saying the same thing twice, because in a revolutionary struggle, you internalize your information. You can do without an assault that takes it away. So I bring this for you. Anyway. Says Coakley's views, many Jews say, are similar to Touré's. Check. I saw the brother's lecture that he gave here the year after I left. It was an excellent analysis of Zionism. I love the brother's attack, and I appreciate the AAPRP being in the vanguard of an anti-Zionist coalition. Because, and I remember when Mandela came, all them thousands of flyers put out to call the question, where they went into the United Nations and took back the resolution, not because the countries believed that it was so, but because United States whipped countries in the line on behalf of the state of Israel and did it in a way that got to vote the way they wanted it, not because the people believed that their values of Zionism had changed. And we're going to talk about, and you need to just understand this, it's in the Rose Rothschild tape, the difference between cultural, spiritual, and political Zionists. In fact, we can just jump on the spiritual and the political. The spiritual is that I'm waiting on the Messiah to come and lead me to the promised land. I know I'm the one that was foretold to be the one that this Messiah would rise up from amongst. Therefore, I know as soon as the circumstances present itself, then we're going to get some rescue help. Then again, I might be sitting around looking at the clock, seeing it's getting late in the game, and I know ain't nobody showing because I wasn't it at all. In fact, I was impersonating it. Therefore, I changed my strategy, and I wanted the politicians to recognize my relationship with God, because only a devil, little satanic, weak politician could recognize something that they couldn't prove biblically. That's the difference between the spiritual and the political. So Theodore Herzl, with the money from Rothschild, went out and sought political recognition of the state of Israel, and that's where the Balfour Agreement came from, with Balfour as a part of a secret society with Cecil Rhodes, who had been assisted by Lord Rothschild in South Africa. And we got some good white Harvard, Yale, Princeton sources down here in the book called The Anglo-American Establishment, to talk about the role between Rothschild and Cecil Rhodes, to verify the role as being succinct and well-known, well-established. It's just the dialogue is diminishing. So we'll just talk a little bit about them differences, but I know brother's viewpoints are similar to mine, and that's a plus for the race. During his '89 university appearance, for example, Coakley said the Trilateral Commission, made up of corporate leaders from the United States, Western Europe, and Japan, is spearheading a white supremacist conspiracy. Well, let's see what has happened since '89. Well, the Cold War was ended. It was ended in the Foreign Affairs magazine, just where it started at. It started there with George Kennan in '47 under Mr. X, and it ended there in '88 with the declaration by the editorial board that the Cold War was dead, white boys unite. Now, Steve Coakley said that the Trilateral Commission was spearheading this, and we know right now that the world is being divided under two specific leadership groupings, one under the Supreme Security Council, yet to be named Supreme, but setting up in the Supreme position, and the G7, which just met 3 weekends ago in New York, controlling the world's financial policy. Well, if you know anything about the G7, you know that the G7 came as a result of the annual economic summits, which started in 76 by Gerald Ford at the behest of a meeting with the Trilateral Commission, who wanted an overt annual economic connection that would groom the people to accept leadership from the United States, Western Europe, and Japan. And this triangle, a three-sided relationship, resulted in the rise of something called the G7, which ain't but a front group for the Trilateral, which works at the behest of the North American chairman, David Rockefeller. And we'll better describe all of that, but you ought to thank me for having been here in '89 and saw this for you, because it came to be so. In fact, it's probably more accurate than some of the professors around here. Maybe they offer me a visiting fellowship. I wouldn't take the shit no way. In fact, I don't even know why you here. What did the white man here in Minnesota do to earn your trust? What did he do? What did he do here to earn you bringing money to him, standing at the feet of the one that colonized your race, asking them to educate you? How uneducated could you be? So I hope to free all y'all, because we ain't got no business being here. In fact, I would suggest to you, word up, that if the thing is going to happen, what's got to happen first is you got to pull off of your white man. It's going to be hard pulling you away. It's going to be hard pulling you away, because somehow you think sitting here kissing his butt, doing what he say, showing up at 8 o'clock, writing papers when he say write, talk like he say talk, see things the way he say see things, sit there for 6 fucking months paying for this shit to get one little letter. I'll give you a whole page full of that shit. You don't need to be paying them for that. And don't you tell me you're leaving here to go get no job from him, because in case you ain't checked it lately. He ain't got nothing to offer to his own children. So I suggest to you there's no reason for going here. In fact, it will happen sooner when you pull up off of him, because our people, what happens if all the Africans left all the schools where the Europeans taught? Then the Africans will show that they would not continuously allow themselves to be victimized by their own oppressor and pay for the oppression. See, this shit ought to be free. When I went to college after the riots, all the shit was free, because they were so afraid that when the riots came in the 60s, that everybody was going to stay away from the institutions. They then paid thousands of people to go there for free. That's where social work and all that other shit came in. Jobs, all kind of shit came as a result of the riot. But we ain't going to have no riot again to get a few jobs. We suggest that if there is a situation where there needs to be a righteous removal of the people who have sinned and took control of the country, then under the guise of what is a worldwide political movement called revolution, we had a right to do what the Slavics did, the Bulgarians did, the Hungarians did, the Romanians. We got the right to do Yeltsin shit. And I'm for that. Says here, Coakley said, that the international Jewish conspiracy for world control aims to oppress blacks. Well, what Coakley actually said was that there was a coalition of leadership, including some interest of Jewish people, but also some WASP people, and also some Paris Club, also some Britons and some Frances and some South Africans, and all of them in a loose-knit coalition. In fact, they have a meeting that they have somewhere, and soon we go announce where the meeting at so we can all go there, because we all need to be at the meeting for world control. See, there's a place where people meet that if you control a continent, you'll be invited to the meeting. How many of y'all been invited to the meeting for world control? Being that I hear no members here, then I suggest to you that all of us, both white and black, all want to know the spot where they meet in Paris, France, somewhere near the time they meet at their Paris Club meeting, which decides which country gets loan money. I think somewhere we ought to know about this meeting, because whoever controls a continent gets invited. In fact, part of what I must do is my role and work for you is to describe for you the difference between the owners and the operators. George Bush, a $1 millionaire. Ronald Reagan, a $1 millionaire. Carter a 1 millionaire, Ford a 1 millionaire, Nixon a 1 millionaire. Now Kennedy, he had 400 million. If you notice, they dealt with him differently. Check. So yes, there is a conspiracy to control the world, and the whites are grappling with it in the form of the movie JFK, which is a very powerful 3-hour and 8-minute movie which examines the possibilities that the present leadership in America, the engineers of the New World Order, assassinated other white people and some black people to make it come about. In fact, I will suggest to you that they looked for certain types of people that they wanted to get rid of. They were out looking for the charismatics. The charismatics. What is it about something called a charismatic, and what is the difference between that person and a pragmatic? This charismatic is this extraordinary individual who has disrespect necessarily for money, doesn't seek out any form of ambition, feels like they're divinely inspired, and has an extraordinary ability to influence people beyond the burdens of their day. These are very dangerous people, white and black. These are very dangerous personalities because they can beat conformity. Therefore, you need to put and replace these charismatic types with pragmatic types who, when you go to them and say, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't shut up, they say, yes, ass kicking. No, don't want one of them. What would you like me to do? Now, you might not understand that that goes on, but I'm going to show you white men talking to other white men. Who did Ronald Reagan's wife turn to when Reagan got his ass kicked? Who she turned to? Who? She turned to the horoscope woman. Mrs. Reagan turned to the horoscope woman to protect her husband, and it's in the book by Donald Reagan called For the Record. He was the one who was chief of staff and secretary of the Treasury, who said that Ronald Reagan never ever told him what to do. In fact, he and Baker switched jobs on their own. But he said that he couldn't get control of Reagan's activities because his wife had him hooked into a horoscope woman. And Nancy Reagan fought back at his ass for writing the book, and it was called My Turn. Now we're looking at some white-on-white, dirty domestic affairs. Now what's the purpose of that? The purpose to that is that you need to understand, magnify, and promote. It's a high level of the Steve Coakley program to magnify and promote white-on-white violence. Check. Y'all didn't hear that. That's all right. We'll go it around. You'll pick it up on the next one. Now, when Nancy Reagan wrote her book, she said that there were a group of people who were out to control the direction of her, Ronnie's government, and she turned to this horoscope woman, but the horoscope woman is then looking at the stars, trying to read some connection as to when her husband might be safe, and you were the ones who came from the stars and brought the science to earth and allowed them to utilize it, but then they swear they don't love you. But they use your things when they deep in trouble. Right? The only thing good about black, they say, is the profit. You're in the black. Now, that's not bad with them since they the money-orientated people. That's the highest compliment they could ever give a person is being in the black. That's in code. It says the Jew, the Chicago Tribune reported Coakley saying, quote, hopes to one day reign forever. Coakley gave an analysis that intrigued other Anglos. You see, there's this little distrust they have with each other. Now, when Coakley said there was a secret society with Rhodes and Rothschild working together, and that this secret society is still around today in the form of international institutes for international affairs, that there are sections to this secret society in Denmark, France, Sweden, Soviet Union, South Africa, etc., 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 and that the American version of this is called the Council on Foreign Relations. Coakley said that at a certain point, if there was unity amongst the white race, and they sought to exterminate the black race, and the extermination was completed, that when the whites got left with each other, one of them would turn to the other one and say, well, goddamn it, I'm the chosen people. Get on your knees. So when I put it out, other Anglos looked at the story and said, you know, that Coakley might be right. So they start checking each other because they did have to get some check on what the ultimate goal would be if they were able to remove us. And I heard, if you heard in the little tape that was playing before this, the questions of stuff like this, was Cleopatra black? With this, the red, black, and green on the cover? First time ever, probably the red, black, and green been on the cover, right? Was Cleopatra black? Facts or fantasies? A debate rages over what to teach our kids about their roots. The question became, do you think that once they find out, or that they knew, or admitted that they knew but acted differently, that they knew these was African people, do you think this is because they want to give out a trophy or something to the African race for being the chosen people? No. Simultaneously, they ran this story. Lost tribes, lost knowledge ran the same week this one did. They ran together. Now, these are millions of people influenced who may never read the story but will all see the cover. What does it say? Lost tribes, lost knowledge. When native cultures disappear, so does the scientific and medical wisdom. Which means if you kill the people, you killed the knowledge. And got a brother here sitting there with a straw in his nose. Now I'm suggesting to you that these are code phrases. Now only 1 week before these two topics came this one in U.S. News and World Report. These are their big three. It says early man. Got somebody down there look just like Wesley here. Wes, did you pose for that picture, brother? That early man looked just like you, man. That looked just like you. The radical new view of where we came from. Well, what's new about it? The facts ain't changed. Maybe your position vis-a-vis the facts have changed. Right? But the truth has remained the same, irregardless of who was willing to voice it. Now, I suggest to you that the reason that was done was because some whites have hung amongst you. They wear Michael Jordan's basketball jersey. Their children do. Their children dance like you. They used to watch them. They started to emulate your rap singers. They started to want to entertain like you. They're starting to get a feeling that maybe you wasn't the person that the other whites told them you were, and maybe you ain't a bad Joe after all. So if told to kill you for the unification of the white race, they might vacillate. So then you start appealing to them. Well, if you don't want to kill them for no other reason than that they're the chosen people and they could call on God if they wanted to and clean this thing up, or some moral spiritual power, then maybe that's enough to make you forget about that you kind of like them because you live near them. Now, I suggest in Minnesota there's probably a lot of the interracial thing. So they're going to be up here working hard to make sure there won't no whites help you out. Now, I'm going to suggest to you again that some poor whites are going to be paid, given money and guns to go out and shoot you and get money for bringing you in. And that's in the FEMA tape. We'll talk about that. But I also suggest to you that at other points, these same white people, some of them have come to get over their inability or a sick white suprematic attitude that just because they see your face, they do not like you. Therefore, there could be disunity amongst the white race when the call was declared to check the black people. So they come up with, who are we? Doing the revolutionary. This was only a few months before that. American kids are getting a new and divisive view of Thomas Jefferson, Thanksgiving, and the 4th of July. Well, the world is coming up with some conclusions to these things. So I make a point that these are symbols in code for the white race to unite around the question of why it is you must be destroyed. Now, says Jewish leaders view Coakley's message as a dangerous one. I don't know why they would single themselves out. Because what Coakley brings is a righteous program. I don't know about what they're telling to each other. But I would like and give an open invitation to any of them at any point in time in the future. I will come back here in a minute to stand and debate anyone from any race, any network, any viewpoint over the question of who fucked the black people. Now, my job is to describe for my people who fucked the black people, and I'm the chief prosecutor, and you are the grand jury, and I'm seeking some indictments. Says we're not going to sit back and watch anti-Semitic speakers without letting people know our concern and anxiety, said Rabbi Irving Wise, executive director of the University Hillel Foundation. Well, I know he's been around a while because I remember he was here when we was here a couple years ago, and all he ever wants to say is he said he want to have a meeting with the Africana Student Council. He want a dialogue. And I suggest to you that the day of talking to the opposition is over. They're not looking for convincing. They're looking to hear bends in your belief system, so ain't no need of you talking to them getting weak and shit. Check. Because in reality, we spank all the ass we think ain't righteous. When I start talking about the Black Male Secret Society, or last time I stood here and talked about Jesse Jackson or anybody else, the reality is this is about righteousness. When the Jewish people try to signal themselves out for some sort of extra special castigation, I say get in the pack with the other Europeans, right? Don't single check, right? Don't signal yourself out for no special attention. You don't deserve any. Says, he added that we will do it in a constructive way. We want to have a dialogue with Afrikaners so we can have a little bit more sensitivity and understanding. Unfortunately, Werkschafter said many Jews are prevented from attending the event to refute Coakley because Jewish Sabbath begins Friday evening. Well, that's unfortunate. I would come back on a Tuesday, a Monday, a Sunday, or any other day you feel more comfortable with coming out and approaching me about what you've done to us. It is an expression of hate in society. That's what alarms me, said Brenda Berry, B-A-R-R-I-E, Executive Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Is she here tonight? Is Brenda here tonight? Brenda here tonight? Anybody here representing Brenda here tonight? Any informants here? Anybody here an informant? If you're an informant, I make this open call. If they're back there, sister, they're back there. That's all right. Let me talk to them. If you're an informant, you can meet me after the program behind the wall here, right? Because I got this word for you. You see, your shit is only good as long as the daddy you serve is winning. But if that daddy lose, your ass in big trouble. We need to talk. In fact, when the word of the revolution comes, the reality is live your life like you want to be judged forever. Because the shit turns when we get a new leadership. Which means that you see them people over there in Soviet Union, this motherfucker say, he KGB, he kicking ass. Well, I'm KGB. Get up on the wall, I'm KGB. Shit, when them motherfuckers lost, and the next day he looked up and said, that KGB motherfucker was fucking with us. They ran up on him. He said, no, I'm ABC, no KGB. Right? Right? So, therefore, I plead for the court that this relationship be one that we understand that if circumstances change, new judgments are passed. So live your life like you want to be judged the day after the revolution. And don't fuck up and get caught with a falling commodity. Check. So the message of hate, question mark, the doubt upon me will continue as I begin to lay before you the premise about who the real haters are. Oh, here's an article by George Brouwer, B-R-A-U-E-R. Is George here? George, you here today? George, you here? He's an associate professor of math. And he wrote a little article in today's letters section of the Minnesota Daily. He says, best you can do, question mark? They like question marks here. 2 years ago, I attended a few activities during Black History Month. A key ingredient consisted of an unjustified labeling of Israel as an oppressor. Now I find an invitation from the African Student Cultural Center to Stephen Coakley, whose messages of hate are comparable to those of David Duke. This kind of program does nothing to create greater understanding of black history. Why in the fuck you know, George? Certainly, it does nothing for racial harmony. Well, who the fuck want to be harmonized around immorality? There'll be no unity around immorality. So we ain't looking for unity. That ain't the resolution to our problem. We want justice. Right? We'll get some fucking harmony when we get some justice. And we'll get some peace after the revolution. Of course, Coakley has the right to spout his lies. Afrikaner has the right to invite whom it chooses. But is this the best the Afrikaners can do? I will suggest to you before I finish, I will leave no doubt in your mind that amongst the Africans who have been victimized by the Europeans, on that table and on this floor is the best single focus about the beast who is in control, how they got in control, and documented evidence with his own information. This is the best you have of the race. Now, Everybody talk about, is there a conspiracy to control the world? Well, pick up the motherfucking dollar bill. Let's have a look. I don't even know if I got one. Sister, we got $1. Let me see it. Let me see if I can find something on this dollar bill. Oh, look here. Here's George Washington. Here in this book right here. The Masons Who Helped Shape the Nation. Now, this book here, I got it at the big Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C., called the House of the Mother Supreme. It's damn near as big as this building. Big Masonic building. Here's a guy who wrote it, Henry Clausen. He's the Grand Master Supreme of World Masonry. His brother was A.W. Clausen, who headed the World Bank. Same time that his brother was head of the Masons in Washington, his other brother was head of the World Bank, and they both from California. Well, he writes a little book here, talking about George Washington and the guys. Now, you must come to understand that the cornerstone to the conspiracy to take the lands from the Native Americans and others is hedged in a document called the Constitution. The Constitution. Now, this Constitution was written by a group of people who were aligned secretly through Masonic lodges, which they described themselves as Freemasons. Freemasons. Now, if you looked at a dollar bill, the Freemasons actually used certain symbolism to describe the activities of their connections, and one of the things they used was a pyramid. Now, when I looked amongst George Washington, hey, check this out here. I got a little poll going on. Y'all know any white people named Washington? No. Since George, I ain't found one white person yet named Washington. That's a conspiracy, shit. Where the white Washingtons at? I ain't seen one since then. All the Washingtons I know black. And this one Washington was president. They say he was the first president, but actually he was the 9th president. The reason the 9th one got made the first one was because Ben Franklin was the PR man. He was a very good PR man. So he rewrote the thing and made Washington come out first, even though he was actually 9th. Now, there's a whole bunch of little inconsistencies about things that they said. You know, the cherry tree, Santa Claus, Thanksgiving, all that other bullshit. They used a whole bunch of myth and allegory to justify things that they did. But what the fuck was George Jefferson and Franklin and Payne and Hancock and all these dudes doing, putting a pyramid on their money? I suggest to you that not one of them motherfucking white boys even been to Africa, so why did they put the pyramid on the money? They're emulating the connection with the African people and the things beyond the earth. Emulating this connection. This thing is worth emulation. That's the conspiracy to impersonate the black people. Now, George Washington and them, they did this thing, and underneath it says, Novus Ordo Seclorum. Now, everybody want to blame George Bush for this program called New World Order. But what the fuck was George Washington doing with the same shit? Now, this pyramid is coded. Now, I got certain steps in it. It's 72 steps, and it's got 13 bars of lines up there, and it's got an all-seeing eye on this shit. And over the top of it says, Annuit Concepius. What that shit mean? What that mean? It mean Latin for, is this the one mean out of many come one? Or does it mean God has sanctioned our undertakings? But actually the shit says in Latin, he has sanctioned our undertaking. He has sanctioned our undertaking. Now you know, you gonna have no belief in nothing like this when they put in God we trust on the money. Now you should be suspicious at that moment. So they've got the pyramid and all seen over here. And the other one over here says equilibris unum, which is out of many come one. So it appears as if there's some symbolism about out of many things are coming one thing into unity. And that what this thing here represented was the last phase, the worldwide unity, and it was a 500-year program coming due in 92. What year is this? Oh, shit. My name's Steve Revere. The whites are coming. Paul Revere, he was a Mason too. They was at that tavern. That was a Masonic tavern where they hung out at. It's all in the book because we got to have good white sources, so we got them saying it. And, you got to know about that Boston Tea Party too. That really wasn't about taxation without representation. That was about looking for that charter coming over there for them Prince Hall brothers. They didn't want that charter to get here. Oh, go back to that. That was about the charter. See, Prince Hall had a charter coming. He had a charter coming. And so the only way you can be in that Mason thing is you got to have these little sanctions. You got to have the charter from the ones authorizing, all that stuff. So his charter came on that boat. So 12 Masons dressed up as Indians went on the boat and overthrew the tea and all of that. Talking about they was overthrowing the tea for taxation. But we know that was a lie, because how could these same Mason boys, who are chartered as Masons through their linkage to French and Masonic lodges, actually be breaking away from the people who they say they were when they were linked to them secretly through secret societies? So they played out this overt dilemma that they was breaking away from something that they unified with as soon as they covered the country. Now they come up with a red, white, and blue flag. 76, the French come up with a red, white, and blue flag in 76, and what the fuck flag did the Russians get a month ago? Red, oh shit. This conspiracy is growing. White, blue, and red. Ooh, that's even worse. So in the book, they talk about their relationship and the people who were Masons and Hancock and all of them, and George Washington at the Potomac. Talked about the presidents who were Freemasons, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James Polk, James Buchanan. Andrew Johnson, he's an interesting person. Andrew Johnson became president when Lincoln was shot. Now, Lincoln wasn't no Mason. In fact, Lincoln shit like Kennedy shit. You check? Now, hey, y'all want to check this out? This is deep. Reach in your pocket and pick up some coins, right? Pick up some coins and look at the coins. This is deep. There's some deep shit here, right? I'm going to show you one of, I think I may have one of everything. Here's a nickel, right? This is, this Jefferson on the nickel. Now, he was a Mason. Now, here's Jefferson on the nickel, right? Here, Jefferson, he on the nickel, his face going that way. Let me see who we got here. Here's a dime. Where's dime at? Truman on the dime. That Truman on the dime, he going that way, same way, he going the same way Truman going. Jefferson going. Here go George Washington. He on the 25 cent, the 2 and the 7. He on the quarter. He going the same direction that Masonic Truman and Masonic Jefferson going. Well, we got a Kennedy $half. Now, this is half of a dollar. So he was Irishman. So the Englishmen only call him half of a man. So he's a $half. He on the 50-cent piece, but he facing the same way the other Mason boys are, right? Now here come this brown motherfucking piece of money. Here come this brown-ass Lincoln shit, right? They ain't got Lincoln ass going the other way. Now you think they just done set up all this damn machine to turn these faces certain ways, and they gonna accidentally come up with Lincoln face going in the opposite direction, all the other ones, that he the only one brown? Hey, something funny going on here. Something funny going on here. But Andrew Johnson became president when Lincoln was shot, and the first thing Andrew Johnson did was to come up with an order exonerating all the Confederate generals. Now, the key to Masonry in the 1800s was a white guy named Albert Pike. What's important about Albert Pike is that Albert Pike was also, while he was head of Reformed Scottish Rite Masonry, he was also the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. This is a picture of Albert Pike, and this is where Albert Pike is buried. He's buried in Washington, D.C. on 16th Street at the House of the Mother Supreme. This is it right here. Albert Pike is buried right into the wall in this building. Got 2 huge sphinxes in the front, and they got something called the Great Stairway. And at the top of the Great Staircase is a bust of Albert Pike, and he's buried right in the wall. Albert Pike is the reformer of Scottish Rite Masonry, and he wrote a book called Morals and Dogma. And he identified Lucifer as the person who he worshiped, because he said, look at this God. God, he having a hard time controlling this shit. In fact, this devil motherfucker, he look pretty tough. I think we gonna get with the devil, because it look like he kicking God in the ass. Right? Because, see, Albert Pike, in the book called Behind the Lodge Door by Paul Fisher, a white Catholic who wrote a book about Masonry, because the difficulty of Catholicism and Masonry, because in Masonry you change books from the Bible to the Quran at 32 to 33, so that causes some problems for the believers in the Bible of Catholicism. So at different times, John Paul I, and for a while, John Paul II, sought to stop Catholics from being Masons But one got killed in his 33rd day in office, the youngest pope ever. You saw him in Godfather Part 3. They come out to the Godfather. They say, hey, man, our friend the Pope is in trouble. He said, man, he got too many enemies. I can't help his ass. He was in trouble with the P2 Masonic sect. Get the book In God's Name by David Yallop. Get this to check. I offer that as evidence. Now, this Masonic sect had resulted in John Paul II, who sought to do what the first couldn't do till his ass got shot in the belly, right? Check. Shot his ass in the belly, shot Reagan's ass in the belly right before it. Right? Now I'm suggesting to you, these are white men getting kicked in the ass by other white men who are not allowing deviation from the program for world control. Yes, it is a conspiracy, and other whites have been victimized by it. So I suggest to you whites, when you're around other whites who say, you know, that Coakley show is bad, you know, we better help get them black people. You sit back and say, hey, you know what? We may not have a chance to pull this off. We may only be able to pull it off with the ones who got courage. I don't care what race they're from. And if Coakley, anybody else want to stand up to these people that brought on a war where some of my friends got killed, had a Persian Gulf War where some of us killed each other, we got shot up with all kind of medicine and stuff. Now we got all kind of funny diseases and stuff to put democracy in a place that had martial law. They had monarchy in Kuwait. How you going to put democracy where you got a monarchy? They going to defend some shit wasn't even there. But that's all right. The people are so asleep. That's all right. The people are so asleep that the facts are unimportant right now. That's why they kicking Oliver Stone in the ass so bad, because he's going to fight with them over what the facts are. And the common white person is living in the possibility that Oliver Stone may be able to set a new climate in America with the youth who will decide they've had enough. And this is now going on amongst the white race. This is a very significant moment. Of course, we've been talking about them things 10 years. We're glad they're catching up. Now, Albert Pike. Now, how many of you all saw the movie Damien, The Omen 3? Now, in that movie, watch it again, they turn to Damien and they say, hey, do you believe in Santa Claus? He says, Pike would make a good one. Says it right in the movie. Now, that's the picture of Albert Pike in his Santa Claus looking look. Long white beard. Now, in the Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C., which you can go on a tour. If you go to Washington, go to 16th Street. Tony Browder talks about it in his book, The Browder File, with the coding of the dollar bill and all that. He also has tours in Washington. But go to Washington, D.C., and go in the Masonic tour of the House of the Mother Supreme. And look at the Albert Pike room and his Ku Klux Klan books right on the shelf. And Morals and Dogma right over there, his allegiance to Lucifer. And look at the other symbolism in the cases of the things and artifacts he was given at other spots around the world. But one key thing I thought Albert Pike said at different moments in his book, he said, you know, I don't even believe God exists. Therefore, I'm going to go kick the people in the ass because I don't believe God can come and help them out. But he also had a little saying, and I thought it was very profound for the Africans. He said, trust no one who believes in heaven, because they'll acquiesce with misery while on earth. I thought that was deep, because we the ones who believe that after we get our ass kicked all these years, we going someplace else and somebody going to reward us. Reward. Reward means thank you again. So since we didn't get it the first time, I get the impression you ain't going to get it the second time. So don't wait on the other shit. God is here, God is now, and you have the right to get what you deserve. Not what you've been getting, that's not what you deserve. So I make a suggestion that the Masonic boys, as part of their conspiracy, make sure that their people don't believe in something that delivers beyond today. Now, that's part of their linear thinking. You see, the white people is linear. They just do shit. They're in a straight line. You see, they got that new thing where they jump all on the wall and shit. So my suggestion to that is that they're not like the other people are who are circular. You know, you reap what you sow. What go around, come around. Eye for an eye. Cause and effect. Now, this means that we act in a way that we know something coming. Right? Even if a white person in this room dropped their money, I'd give it back to them. It has nothing to do with the person. It has something to do with my values. My belief that when my thing fall, I want somebody to give it to me. So when my thing fall, I get my thing back. That's only because when somebody else's thing fall, I pick it up and give it to them. This is a rule. This is a law that puts us in the righteous position. Our ability to be responsible for the next leadership deals with us putting ourselves in the leadership position. Anyway, so these boys here, you got to go to that Masonic temple there. Also, if you're in Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, right near the airport, is the George Washington Masonic Memorial Temple. Now, the reason I bring these things up is that when you go to these edifices, you can go on tours in both places. There will be no doubt in your mind that there was a conspiracy, for they talk of it openly there. Now remember, these are Freemasons who wrote a constitution that made the black man 3/5 of a man. Why? Because he said, we're going to be in an organization that honors ancient African symbolism, but we're going to assure that no African can join. So we say no man who was not born a free man, no man who was born of a slave can be a free Mason. Therefore, it was a conspiracy from the jump. From the jump, it was a... Now, anyone want to say it wasn't a conspiracy? Take them to the dollar bill, take them to the coding of the dollar bill, and start the process of seeing whether these white boys were inclusive or exclusive. And I put before you today the grand jury. Are they guilty or not guilty of being in a conspiracy? These founding thieves who built the Constitution, who built it in a way that disrespected other people, guilty or not guilty? Okay, we'll move on. May the bailiff strike the indictment on the bearers of the Constitution, for the grand jury has ruled that they need to be brought before the people to defend themselves. We give them a right to defend themselves, but just like the judgment at Nuremberg, when we finish with that shit, your ass off to the oven. Now I see you all got a Lafayette thing over here, right? Lafayette. I saw Lafayette Street, Lafayette Bridge, right? Now check out this dude Lafayette. He's a heavy dude. Lafayette is in this Virginia Masonic temple. There's an apron in there that Lafayette, see right across the street from the White House is something called Lafayette Park. He's sitting on a horse looking up to Washington like this to the White House, right? And the connection is that George Washington got his Masonic leanings from this connection with Marquez de Lafayette. Every city got a Lafayette somewhere in it. In Chicago, it's right off of State Street, one of the main streets, right? In Lafayette, Indiana, there's an oblique right in the center of the town running right up the middle. If you go to Indianapolis, where you got everything comes into the circle there, and the Masonic Temple and the war memorials are right off of the circle. Go to 7th Street in Kansas City, Kansas, or go up on, what's that street in Kansas City, Missouri? Linwood Boulevard, which is the peak level there, and then look at that oblique of that war memorial in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm calling out these locations, Los Angeles, where Wilshire and Crenshaw come together, and there's a list of statues going around the building that starts off with Imhotep and ends with George Washington and Albert Pike. I'm just calling out these spots. Dearborn Street in Chicago, 935 Dearborn, where the big Masonic Lodge is. There's a big one in Dayton, Ohio, right overlooking the river. And Cincinnati, you can call out, think about your various cities. Check. When you go to your cities, find out where the lodges are. Check. Because where they meet at, and one day you're going to have to go to the meeting, is very important. So in your little black book on who done it, you have a page for the local ones who are the descendants of the ones who come up with the Constitution, right? Because this is important. So in this Masonic Lodge here in Virginia and in the one in Washington, D.C., you can establish clearly what their motives were. Now, Lafayette got this apron in there, and it's a little triangle apron, and it's got a skull and crossbones on it. Skull and crossbones. Lafayette gave to George Washington the skull and crossbones. Now, this don't sound like no religious symbol to me. I remember when I was little, they used to put that iodine or mercurochrome or some shit was real, it hurt. It had the poison thing on it, iodine or something that used to burn, right? Here is the Washington Post, April 16th, 1991, with a front page story on skull and bones. You see the symbolism at the bottom with the 322. Now it's important to show a good white newspaper. This is of the Graham-Meyer family. In fact, it's a Jewish newspaper, right? Now, what's important about this is that many of the important articles on Skull and Bones have come from Jewish writers. Why? Because there are not many Jewish people in Skull and Bones. And they also know that Skull and Bones has a conspiratorial nature about itself. Therefore, they write on it as a conspiracy, but then they turn to you and say they don't see one. But you got to understand the little wars they have between each other. Now, what does this say? See, they just had a fight over whether women could get in Skull and Bones. Now, what was important about that? When you initiated in Skull and Bones, you got to wrestle butt naked 14 other men in a mud pile. So I could you see George Bush wrestling somebody named Leroy or Fred? They all on the mud, rubbing on each other a little bit. Right? You check in JFK, the connection with homosexuality, and how that protected David Ferry and Clay Shaw and others. How many of y'all here saw JFK? Yeah, the ones of you who didn't see it, get your butt up and go see the movie. If you're in school, this is a perfect education. Go see the movie. Everybody should see the movie. Check? Now, says here, for more than a century and a half, Skull and Bones, whose initiates include the late Henry R. Luce, Potter Stewart. Now, Potter Stewart swore in George Bush to be president. Now, the Bible that George Bush was sworn in with is in the Masonic Lodge in Virginia. It's in a big old case. It comes from the St. John's Lodge in New York. Now, this was a Masonic Bible that George Bush was sworn in by, but they swear he ain't a Mason. Now, how the Masons going to give up their Masonic book and give it to a guy who's a non-Mason? Now, that's out of order. They just don't want to talk about his Masonic activity. In fact, there's some similarities between the initiation rites of Skull and Bones and Masonry. In fact, the clubhouse of Skull and Bones is called a tomb, T-O-M-B. Sounds like a religious outhouse, a tomb. They do their initiation in a coffin. Sound like Dracula shit, right? Sound like some Dracula shit, right? And you remember the Dracula thing, as long as the shit was dark and mysterious and didn't nobody know it was a conspiracy, and it was dark out, Dracula could suck all the blood he could get his teeth into. But as soon as the light came, Dracula had to get his ass back to the cave, because the light or the exposure or the knowledge of what he does rendered him impotent. So understand the role of the revelation to the darkness, because that's reducing Dracula to impotency. It says, Potter Stewart, as well as President Bush, has been the most powerful secret society in the nation. With its ceremonial phrases and clandestine rites, it is also one of the last. Now, another cornerstone article to Skull and Bones. Look it up, Esquire magazine, September 77, written by a guy named Rosenblum. Another Jewish writer, Jewish magazine, writing a very interesting article on Skull and Bones. Very good article, right? Also get the book America's Secret Establishment by Anthony Sutton. In fact, that book is in pamphlet size. Now, in certain states, the book ain't available. I mailed a copy up here to Brother Wesley, so we know one is around in town. But the point to that is that Skull and Bones is not known as well in some states. In Ohio, where Alfonso Taft was one of the founding members of Skull and Bones, you can't find the book anywhere, because the Taft family is still very active in the leadership in Ohio. In fact, one Taft is Secretary of State now. Anybody here from Ohio? You know about the historical connection of the Taft family. It's a Taft thing there. So it's amazing that the book isn't readily available in Ohio. It's not readily available in Minnesota. We better find out the connection between Skull and Bones and Minnesota to find out why that book is not readily available here. Now, so get those three sources to look up an analysis of Skull and Bones. Now, again, Skull and Bones, you're 15 males picked in their in their junior year to be a part of an initiation process of their senior year, but Skull and Bones is a postgraduate secret society. Postgraduate. Now, what's important about calling out Skull and Bones in Yale, which is where it was started at in 1832, is that Cecil Rhodes' secret society was hatched at Oxford when he listened to lectures from John Ruskin. The Skull and Bones was at Yale. The Illuminati was at University of Ingolstadt. My point to this is that there's a relationship between secret societies and universities. So while you're walking around one, don't become so naive that this is not the place where they could be lurking, because all the others were hatched at so-called places of higher learning. Now, Skull and Bones started in 1832, came from a charter from over in Germany. So we're talking about Skull and Bones being an extension of something that was started in Germany. From the University of Ingolstadt, William Russell and Alfonso Taft brought this charter back. Now, the son of Alfonso Taft is William Howard Taft, who is the only man in the history of the U.S. government to be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and President. Only man in the history. When you get the book Behind the Lodge Door, it will show you specifically the times when the Masons had the dominating or 5 votes on the Supreme Court, specifically the period between 41 and 71. John Marshall, who's called the father of the Supreme Court. The law school in Chicago is the John Marshall Law School. John Marshall, big-time Mason, big part in this book. Lewis and Clark, the little explorers, used to go put the trick down and go all over the place and steal the land. Big-time Masons, right? Just left California. Burbank was a Mason. Carson of Carson City was a Mason. Down in Texas, Sam Houston was a Mason. He was head of all of the Masons in Houston. I mean, in that Texas or Mexico as it was called then. So we're looking all over and we find remnants of this secret society interconnected with another secret society. Now, Skull and Bones is predominantly a white male thing, but I know in this recent argument over women, I saw that they had 3 brothers on the line of 15. Now, when you go over in Skull and Bones, when you go over, they give you a $15,000 cash award. Imagine getting $15,000 when you went over Kappa Alpha Psi or something. Everybody be in it, wouldn't it? But you can't join this. They have to call you. They have to pick you. So this line picked women, and there's been disruption. Because part of the ceremony, again, is you lay in the coffin naked, and you take a new name, and then you start talking about lewd sex stories about yourself. In fact, you give compromising information about yourself. What's important about that? If you're going to be in killing people, best know something about somebody that you can check their ass if you have to. Right? Agnew, who wrote the book, Go Quietly or Else. And we'll talk about the book. See, I get to show you him saying it. He said, go quietly or else. That's what Al Haig told him. Else he'd shoot his ass in the head. Agnew enough to leave. This is an important statement from a white man, right? And we'll also talk about this book here. Let me just do it since I'm standing here. This book here is Silent Coup. Everyone should get this book, Silent Coup. It's about Watergate and the real role of Woodward, Haig, and John Dean. And the prostitution ring. In fact, now it can't be told. I was talking about this the other night. So it wasn't what you thought it was. But by Lee Colodny, C-O-L-O-D-N-Y, and George Getlin, G-E-T-T-L-I-N. And what it exposes is that Al Haig was deep throat. Al Haig is the one on page 191 that told Spiro Agnew, now check this out. I just left California. I asked if somebody would go to Palm Springs and get Spiro Agnew. Put down in your thing, Copley said, the black people want to talk to Spiro Agnew because they want to find out why on page 191 he said Al Haig would shoot his ass in the head if he didn't resign as being vice president. And since he said he didn't get it, we want to know what did Ag know to make him leave anyway, though he said he wasn't guilty. Now remember when Ronald Reagan was shot, Al Haig was in control in the White House. Now, I'm suggesting to you that Al Haig has some extraordinary ability to do something that other whites are afraid of him. And he's a Catholic, he's a Knights of Malta and all that stuff. But the point to it is that the other whites are afraid of Al Haig. And you have to know why. I'll spit on the front rows. Let me get back up. Now, listen to this. In this book, Silent Coup, it says that in 1963, Al Haig was rescued from military obscurity and given a job with the Secretary of the Army, Cyrus Vance. Now, this is very important, especially because the statute of limitations on murder never run out, and we're talking about the John Kennedy assassination. Then we ought to talk about the role of the Secretary of the Army, a name who's never mentioned, Cyrus Vance, his legal counsel, Joe Califano, and his #1 assistant, Al Haig, in '63. In fact, they chaired the special task force on Cuba that went out and got the CIA and the Mafia to work together to try to kill Castro, who overthrew Batista, who was controlled by the Jewish gangster Meyer Lansky ass. Was it a conspiracy? You motherfucking right it was. Now, Silent Coup says that this book was referred to this book. I just happened to have bought this book for 50 cents. Al Haig, The General's Progress by Roger Morris. Now I'm giving you some footprints I want you to follow. book quotes this book about how heavy. Now get this shit down. This is some heavy shit. I'd like to see this in the story because we're talking about the murders of John Kennedy. Never coming out in all the stories. This is how we know this is the squad to check. I draw you 3 people in and put the Careza on. The Careza. You know what Careza is? Check. Razor blade. Put it on your throat and say, now if you talk, you walk. If you don't, check. My reason for saying that is that the statute of limitations on murder never run out. You watching the white race sinner and start to focus down on a group of people who they allege killed one of their own. Now, when you come up with the conclusions of who did the murder, somebody going in jail. Now, Cyrus Vance, he is special UN envoy to Yugoslavia. He just ordered, just yesterday, it's in today's daily newspaper, that he just ordered the United Nations, a wrote a report to the United Nations to send the peacekeeping forces over to Yugoslavia because it's a little white-on-white violence. Okay, they want to break it up. So Cyrus Vance is still in effect today. He's still on the move. Now, Cyrus Vance was secretary to the Army. Now, you saw the movie JFK. What did the Army do? You saw the little white woman say, it was as if they were watching us. She was one of the witnesses in Dealey Plaza who watched certain people do certain things, and like some of the police and others, she chased after them. Instead of the perpetrators being stopped, the witnesses of the perpetrators all got stopped. They got brought into another part of Dealey Plaza where the U.S. military intelligence told them what they saw and what they didn't see. Now, this movie is an excellent example of subtle pressure. Pressure. What keep everybody in check? The pressure. What make this man write some stuff he don't understand? The pressure. I asked him if he would allow himself to interview me in front of everybody. He said he couldn't take the pressure. Now, my point to this is simple. My point to this is simple. There is pressure that make people, what'd you say?
I'm here to do the news. I'm not here to be a subject of your ridicule. I'm just here to report the event and what happened and what was said. I'm not here to go up on stage and be ridiculed by you.
Well then, hold it, stop now.
I could not take the pressure. I did not say that.
Okay, what did you say?
I did not respond.
What you said was you're putting me on the spot.
I did not say that.
Oh, you're a liar now. You're a liar, because that is exactly what you said. And he stood right here with me, and not that he wouldn't deny it. Well, let's just do it this way. Ain't no fucking newspaper nowhere able to stand up and tell the truth, because they get their ass kicked if they don't see the shit right. So ain't no Minnesota Daily no less a slave than the New York Times, the Minneapolis Star and Tribune, and every other newspaper that better toe the line, else they don't get investments. Now, what we hope we could do with this guy is to pull him over to our side, but right now he don't belong to us.